Glue the pre-cut surround to the shaped base of the mast top. Front upper surround on top of the assembly, aligning it with the outer edge. Cut strips of 3x2mm wood to complete the surround. There are 6 shaped parts for the cross trees. Turn the top over and glue the 2 longest ones in place, fitting the middle of the cross trees against the edges of the rectangular hole. Sand the edges of the fighting top smooth, making the overhang edges from step 3 flush with the edges of the top. Cut 2 pieces of 2x3mm wood and 1 piece of 2x2mm wood, making them the same length as the width of the fighting top. Drill 5 holes in the 2x3mm strips only. Make them all 1mm in diameter in the positions indicated in your instructions. Glue one of the 2x3mm strips to the back of the fighting top, flush with the rear edge. Now glue the 2x2mm strip along the centre of the 2x3mm strip to form the handrail. Turn the assembly over and drill another 10 holes by 0.7mm in diameter, positioning as shown in your instructions. Next, you need to cut 27 ribs from 1x5mm wood to fit in the base of the fighting top. This is the general shape, but each one is different and needs fitting individually, as shown in step 5 of your instructions. Take the brass eyes and cut the shanks to 2mm long. Glue them in 0.07mm holes with superglue aligned as shown in step 6 of your instructions. Take a small block and tie a single hitch around it using the thinner cord supplied with this stage. The hole in the block should be nearer to the knot end. Pull the first hitch tight and then tie a second hitch to secure the knot. Then paint the knot with diluted glue to seal it and allow it to dry, then cut the end closest to the knot. Prepare 6 of these blocks using exactly the same method. Tie the 6 blocks to the 6 eyes on the top using the method described in step 7 to 9 of your instructions. They should hang about 10 to 12mm below the eye. Then cut 5mm lengths of brass wire and glue them into the holes into the back of the top from the post of the handrail. Glue the handrail to the brass post to complete the assembly. Take the 10mm down and lay it on the main lower mast plan. Make a pencil mark at the 4 points indicated in line with the dot marks printed next to the mast. Slide the collar onto the dowel and use it to draw a neat line around the mast at each of the marked points. Place the upper end of the dowel onto the centre finder on the plans and mark the 4 corners of the square section. Join the points to make a cross at the end of the dowel. Lay the dowel on a flat surface and place an offcut of plank against it. Extend the corner lines along the length of the square section, which runs to the mark 73mm from the end. Carefully make very shallow saw cuts across the dowel where the circle marks the end of the square section. Carve away the curved sections between the lines using a sharp knife. Do not carve all the way down to the lines. Check the size of the square section frequently and also check that the main mast top fits over the square section. Mark a 5x5mm square on the last 5mm of the square section, using a similar method to steps 5 and step 6 of your instructions on page 351. Carve the square section to size. Check that the mast slides easily down to the 95mm line you marked from the plans. Sand 3 flats on the mast as shown on your plans. At the front of the mast, sand a 5mm wide flat measuring 188mm long to fit the strip of wood indicated in your instructions. To make the hounds, take a strip of 3x7mm wood, cut 2 pieces 21mm long and round one end of each to the profile of the plan. Now cut 2 pieces of 2x6mm wood, each 106mm long, as shown in step 2 on page 352 of your plans. Place the 2 mast top supports, bibs, against the plan and trim them to size as necessary. Sand off the corners of the curved edge, leave the corners intact on the straight edges. Glue the cheeks and the hounds to the mast using the plan as a guide. Copy the positions of the bindings from the plan. Press lightly so that no marks will show on the finished mast. Using a length of black thread, make a loop around the mast and then add 4 turns on top of the loop. More detail on the binding techniques can be seen in stage 30. After cutting a 188mm length from the 2x5mm strip, mark the positions of the notches according to the plan and check that they align with the thread bindings. Make 1mm cuts with a razor saw and use a knife to carve out the wood between them. Glue the ribbon paunch in place on the flat area of the sand you sanded on the front of the mast earlier on. Make sure that the recesses are aligned over the threaded bindings. Glue the 2 bibs in place, noting that they are positioned on the front of the mast. Allow the glue to completely dry before fixing the top. Check that the mast top sits straight and square on the supports. Trim them with a knife if necessary. When you are satisfied with the fit, glue the top in place. Cut 2 battens from 2mm wood and fit it to the top of the cross trees. Then add 4 short squares of 2x2mm wood, evenly spaced between the battens as shown.